core credentials. What are the core credentials with the AAPC, and does AHIMA have core credentials? Now our next slide after this one, Tammy's going to do, which also talks a little bit about these, what is considered a core credential. This actually came from the AAPC. You can go to the AAPC website and find this little graph that they've got here. And the three core credentials are the CPC, the CPC-H, and the CIC. Now, mind you, they have informed everybody that they are going to change the name of the CPC-H to COC, and that is because, you know, it's a certified outpatient coder, and so it just is easier to understand. The CPC-H always kind of threw everybody because they thought it might be inpatient coding, and it's not. But what they have done is they have created the CIC, which is the Certified Inpatient Coder, and let me tell you, some really cool news is that 2 CCO members have gone this week and beta tested the CIC, and that would be Laureen and Tammy, who you're going to hear from next, and they had to fly out to Anaheim, take the test, and turn around and fly back. So that was pretty exciting that we have that in now. They know, you know, kind of what the test is going to be like, the format, and I'm sure they're going to tell us more about it in the real near future. And you can be sure that we will be offering these credentials. So, core credentials, the CPC, your Certified Professional Coder, it's services performed by physician and non-physician practitioners. Let me tell you, though, that the CPC is a standard in the industry, and because it's so a diverse, I think, in my opinion, coding credential, you will see a lot of CPCs that do inpatient coding, and you know, it's you are a certified professional coder. But if you're going to specialize in inpatient coding, then that would be the CIC. And if you're going to specialize in outpatient would be like surgical centers and stuff like that, the ones that actually have the money, because you don't have to necessarily have, insurance doesn't pay for facelifts and things like that. Anyway, that's a great credential to have. These are the code sets that you'll be using with those, and they, unlike the CPC, the CIC, you'll have volume 3 in your ICD manual, and the 3 is for PCS codes. That's when we switch over, it'll be ICD and PCS, and that's the one we're going to do in January. So if you're interested in inpatient coding, you're going to want to pick up a manual that has volume 3 and understand PCS.
And just to give a little history, CPC used to stand for Certified Procedural Coder, because back in the day, AHIMA was in existence first. So the AAPC wanted to service physician coders. So that's really how they got their start. And so they really, back then, just focused on procedures, and that was the CPT manual. And then as time went on, diagnostic coding became more important to support why procedures were done, so they renamed it to Certified Professional Coder, and that's kind of, you know, how that came about. Then they added the H, again, not really wanting to get into AHIMA territory and just wanted to focus on outpatient. And I remember, you know, back when I was on the board, I was telling them that it was very confusing because I thought it was inpatient. I studied for months, volume 3, and I went to take the exam. I was like, what? Where's
no
the volume
questions.
3? And I'm like, I would have taken it long ago. So, you know, now it does have a lot of outpatient reimbursement that you need to know. And now with the CIC, which, you know, I'll share a little bit, it was a very, very fair exam, very challenging. You definitely need to have experience with coding cases so that you can be speedy, which I was not. But the 60 multiple choice questions are all laid out for you on the AAPC site, exactly what's covered, and, you know, just if you go through them, you know, step by step, I believe they're opening it up for the public in October to start taking it, but we are going to, create a course around it. But now those three pieces together would basically say that you are a generalist coder and you can code in any setting. You might not have a specialty like cardiology or ortho or something like that, but these are core credentials that are very solid. And I will share, I've talked to a couple friends who were between jobs and recruiters contacting all the time, and they're wanting coders that can do both sides, physician and inpatient, which, seems unfair because, they're not paying them anymore. But, just to let you know that they're, that lots of people are getting multiple certifications. So, and we're here to help.
Yeah. Because we're coding nuts. We want to learn it all. Now, the AHIMA, which Laureen, gave you some background on that, AHIMA came out like in the 1920s. So they're like the grandfather of, getting a type of coding credentials. The AAPC came around in the 1980s, so I always like to think of them as young and hip and stuff in my mind, and the AHIMA is that, steady, which I just see that I left the I out in AHIMA, so I'll be adding that real quick. That was embarrassing. I'm surprised that Lori, she must be jet lagged or she would have seen that.
I am very jet lagged.
So, again, both excellent organizations, finding the one that's going to meet your needs. AHIMA really doesn't have core credentials. Tammy was giving me some more information about that today when we were talking. It's like, yeah, they have credentials, but they aren't set up with the specialties like the AAPC, so they don't really have a core. But just to throw it in, they have HIM certifications, the RHIA and the RHIT, which are HIM, meaning that these are degree. Yes, you do
information management.
Yeah, you do get degrees to be able to sit for these. However, they have the coding certification, the CCA, the CCS, and the CCSP, which would be like our CPC-H, and the CCS focuses more on inpatient coding. So that's the basics for them.
The CCS is basically inpatient and outpatient.
Right.
So it would be the COC or the CPC-H plus the new CIC. That is what the CCS covers. There's a lot of CPT on the CCS, and there was none on the CIC. It was all focused on inpatient volume 3, and understanding a lot of the background, the reimbursement, the inpatient prospective payment system, and all that good stuff.
And Laureen did have the CCS at one time, and then when her boss quit paying for it, she let it go. She always tells everybody. But yes, so she has tested for it, so she can give you the experience of what that entails.
Get more CPC exam tips, coding certification training, and CEU credits. Go to www.codingcertification.org.